So let me give you some context before I go into the videos on how I actually wired the whole thing together. So it took me a little bit of time to find the right radio that I wanted to use for my purposes. One of the things I wanted was to have Apple Carplay, compatibility, and a backup camera. There was also pretty much no model that you can get that could have that tactile knob with all the modern features that most people are looking for. So I just went ahead and got one that had a very simple design with a increase and decrease. So once I picked out that I wanted this Boss audio system on Amazon, it was probably only maybe 150 bucks, maybe $200. There's a variety of different models that you can get. And so once I picked out that, there was a number of related backup cameras that you can get. And there's a whole family of backup cameras you can get. Ones that are wired, ones that are wireless, ones that utilize your phone as the screen, and a variety of different prices and locations. And so the easiest option for me was, hey, I think I might be more likely to break the camera that's on the handle of the tailgate of your truck. So I didn't want to get that one. And I wanted to get one that's robust and can handle not having connection issues. Because when you want to use your backup camera, it's usually so you don't. So I chose a camera that's wired. It was generally cheaper, much cheaper than a wireless camera. And it's cheaper, this one was cheaper because it also just screws into your license plate cover instead of the one on your tailgate, which is aesthetically better, but about $100 more expensive. So I chose a backup cam that connects to the license plate. I got my Boss audio system, and if you can see my cursor, then you can see that it's not too difficult to wire this up from the backup camera of your truck all the way to the front. The only interesting part is connecting this extra power that turns on the camera. You want to branch it off of your rear reverse tail light. And I chose my reverse taillight on the driver's side because it's the easiest. So you can go to the driver's side taillight, go through the frame, and you can mount all the wires as you go from the back of the truck to the front. And it was easy for me to hide all the wiring. Once I got to the cab, you pass it through a grommet, and then you can hide it in the section along the door, crawl up where your pedals are, and then you can zip tie your way into the back of the dash. And I use a quick method of just branching the power and ground off of the reverse tail light. You need to check which one is the reverse tail light. One of your lights in the back is always on. The other one only turns on when you hit the brakes and when you're so once you connect this barrel jack to this barrel jack, you cannot mess this up because they're two different genders. So it's pretty self-explanatory how to connect all of that together. Make sure you be really careful when you're routing your wire. If you pick the one that I picked, it goes from the license plate over the bumper, in between the tailgate. And that section right there is very vulnerable to someone stepping on it, or even if you drop something, maybe you wanted to pick something up that's pretty heavy, or you're grabbing gravel from Home Depot, you don't want to make sure that that doesn't get cut. So you want to put a little bit of harnessing around it to keep it protected. And additionally, I bought about, 10 to 12 feet of automotive harnessing to protect the wire that goes from the camera to the reverse tail light, from the reverse tail light all the way to the front radio. Protects it from water, protects it from any damages that may occur on the road, things flying up. So I highly recommend, if you're going to do this, you should spend an extra 20 bucks and also get the automotive wire harnessing. And so why don't I go ahead and I'll show you how I made all the cuts and wired everything together using these Molex crimp connectors. And yeah, excited to show you how it works. So here's the Boss audio system right here. Touchscreen. And I'm taking out my old audio system. It had good mechanical feedback, but it had no Bluetooth. It had no CarPlay, had no Android Auto CarPlay. So I'm getting rid of that and I'm replacing it with this. This system only had one plug in the back, and the rest are audio inputs and outputs and cables for the rear camera, USB charging, and Apple CarPlay. So I had to go ahead and take this plug, which fits right back here, and I went ahead and I replaced all the loose ends and terminated them with these gold crimps. These gold crimps have good solid contact on all four sides, and if you wanted to ever replace the system, it's as easy as just undoing a plug. So I'll show you how that works exactly and how I connect it to these pre-existing systems. So I had to buy an extra cable. Looks like this. This is a female cable that goes onto these male cables right there. So I'll show you how all that works. So let me show you how this crimping tool works. You place the crimp in the crimping tool at the appropriate size, which is the third one for this application. You take this wire, you place it in the crimp. You want to make sure you get a little bit of sheath. Crimp down, and there you go. Should look like that. Grab some of the cabling, be able to do a pull test, and it doesn't pull out. Glazed over the fact that a lot of this rewiring is a bit more involved than I'd say most people want to do. It's not a plug-and-play system if you want to rewire your radio from the pre-existing old 2005 Toyota Tacoma wiring system. You have to make sure you take a good look at every single piece of text on the wire. You cannot match necessarily by color because the color coordinations could be different from year to year. So I made sure I was reading every single bit of text, placing them in the right pin condition inside the crimp, and once I set those aside, I was good to go. I'm not necessarily liable for you messing up anything you do on your radio, but make sure you double check your work and make sure you match up the wire labels, not colors, labels, as you would expect. That's right there. So basically what's happening here is I already pre-crimped these, set them up, read the labels, negative right, rear right, and then I matched them up with the text that's on here. It was pretty easy to install the backup camera that I bought. Just connects directly to the mounting fasteners you would use for your license plate. It was particularly easy, except for I had to get rid of the license plate cover that I have. So I just now have a bare license plate, and I threw the license plate cover on the front, which is not a big deal, but I thought maybe it would fit nicer, but it's okay. Anyways, once I put the camera in, I made sure I tucked the back wire behind the license plate, not to get it near where the tailgate might pinch it or where it's in the way of how I get my spare tire. So I tucked that back, and I'm going to go ahead and put automotive harnessing on that later. This tool is amazing. This is a tool that self-strips the wire for you of any size or gauge. Just like that. Alright. Now this is ready. I'm gonna clip both sides. Make sure you wrap all this stuff in automotive harnessing so it doesn't get all destroyed by the elements.
You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side, yeah. We chased our pleasures here, dug our treasures there, but can you still recall the time we cried? Break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side.
So right now I'm going to go ahead and take the red off of this bottom light because that's the reverse, that's the light that turns on when you go in reverse. The signal wire will be this red wire. I'm going to branch off of this and it's going to connect to the red wires on the rear camera input. I found an island in your arms, country in your eyes, arms and changes, eyes and lines. Break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side, break on through, oh yeah! So let me show you what I'm doing here. Basically, the power that is going to the rear light that turns on when you go in reverse, I'm using that as a signal wire and tapping off of that, and I'm giving it as the signal input for the camera that goes to the front. And what I did is I just created a 4-crimp and then I made a jumper that goes from the signal wire that would also connect to the power for this back light. Been a few hours of work, and I had to find a route under the car to route the wired camera, rear view camera, through the bottom of the truck. I kept it really high. I basically followed the structure of the truck right along the frame. I went over the wheel well. It was pretty easy to get to. I'll show you how I did that. You can see I took out the pocket here and I put the harness and wire through the top of the wheel well, made a way. Then after that I took off the foot covers on the door for this 2005 Toyota Tacoma, and I routed the camera input from the back all the way along this foot pad, and conveniently placed, I move this chair out of the way. There's a grommet right in there. I'll show you it from the bottom. You can see I routed this along the frame, and right there is a grommet. So I poked a hole, tiny hole, pulled the wire through, and I'll clean that up with some waterproof RTV. Alright, so I wired everything up. I got the new screen installed here. I've got my camera right here. I've got the reverse input right here. I've got my antenna. I've got the preamp. I've got my wire harness already dialed in, and I've got my USB cable right here. See that? You can see that. Got my USB cable right there. So now the true test. All right. No electrical fire. Let's see if we can play some music. All right, this is all a good sign. Looks like we got the front screen. Got Apple Carplay. We got hands-free. We got Bluetooth. Looks like everything's working as expected.
Weekend or when you're with your friends and trying to grow up in a life
everything
where
works.
you don't feel.
It looks pretty much exactly the same as the old trim. I passed the microphone right through this hole that I drilled in the piece of this panel right here. And I'm going to place this microphone right over here. There's 3 recommended spots behind the steering wheel. Down here by the pedals, and another one here by the mirror. And I'm just going to pick the one right by the steering wheel because that makes the most sense. That's where usually I'm talking in. Here's the true test. Takes a little bit of time for the audio system to warm up, but let's see, 10 seconds or so, it gets responsive. Okay, agree. And now let's test out the rear view camera. This truck is a stick shift, inline 4, so I'm just gonna put it in reverse and boom! There we go, rear view camera. It's really good view. That's the license plate mounted rear view camera, and I can see crystal clear right behind me. Don't have to turn around and play the guessing game anymore.
You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side, yeah. We chased our pleasures here,